What's up, guys? Welcome back for another exciting episode full of contractor tips to help you run your business better. In this episode, we're going to be talking about construction budgeting basics, the budgeting process when you're budgeting out for a project, and how to prevent overruns as you move along. Let's jump into it. Quick review. Last week, we talked about indirect versus direct costs. So you got overhead and then all your direct costs. The difference is direct costs are all the things that go into building the project. That's your labor, subcontractors, materials, everything that's directly tied and easy to allocate to the actual project cost. Then you've got all your overhead and things like that. With that, there's some fixed and variable costs. If you have anybody that's hourly and you're not sure how long that would take, it's a variable cost. Sometimes your materials can be a variable cost with the way lumber's fluctuating day to day. Actually, my lumber vendor today gave me a price on lumber and told me it was only good for 24 hours. That's how fast the lumber markets are moving right now. This provides just an immense challenge on getting that part right. So budgeting can be so complicated for contractors because there's so many variable costs and so much to take into consideration when building a new project. So let's jump into the budgeting process that I use. Once I have my set of plans, I like to start with some initial estimations. The best way to be able to do this is have historical data from other jobs you've bid before and be able to jump into those and pull data from those and extrapolate to this project. Like if you know unit price, square foot rates, what it cost you for a similar size house recently, you can use all those numbers and that data that you've accumulated over time to build a basis and a basic cost estimate, an initial estimate, preliminary budget, whatever you want to call it, so that you have a starting point as you start to dial in the project. Once you know that and have a price range, get a client comfortable with that, usually I start breaking down allocating funds to different divisions, different segmentation of whatever my project is. I'm in new construction, so I can break down site work, foundation, rough in, drywall paint, all those different categories, finished carpentry, to be able to complete an entire home project. When I make my budget for new home construction or any project, even a fix and flip, I try to add like a 10% contingency buffer to a lot of the numbers that are in that variable category, the things that are going to fluctuate, such as lumber. I always add 10%, maybe even 15% buffer to my lumber price so that I know I can absorb some of that market shift in my quote. Final part of the budgeting process is being able to regularly monitor and make adjustments on the fly. To do that, you're going to have to keep all this data inside, a CRM, a project management software such as Buildertrend, or even just right inside Google Sheets or Excel. I use a mix of these kind of tools to be able to track all the cost, estimated versus actual for my projects. With these tools in place, on a bi-weekly basis, we look at the financials for every project, look at our cost basis versus actual, and then start making adjustments as we go along. It's so hard if you wait to the end to try to fix anything and change order and all that. It's best if you can have a standardized process during your project where you're doing a constant review of checking the numbers, making sure that you're on budget. Let's talk about some strategies to prevent overruns. Overruns are a constant problem with contractors. The project always ends up more expensive than you projected. Things always happen that are going to cost more, issues pop up, things like that. So, here's some strategies to help prevent that. It starts with thoroughly reviewing contracts and bids at the preliminary phase before you start the construction project. We always like to take our design team, bid team, and our project managers and have a meeting before we actually get the contract out to the client to be signed and move forward with the project. We want to double check everything and make sure that nobody disagrees with the budget that we've allocated for each part of the project. You're going to be high on some, you're going to be low on some, and that's okay. The goal is that you average out the project and are able to make the target profit that you're looking to make. Some of the common pitfalls actually come from a lack of experience. It's just really easy to miss some of the little details if you're not used to bidding off of plans or bidding out full projects and knowing what's going to happen. That's where that contingency fund that you allocated could come in handy to save the day as you come across issues and small cost increases. I think the major strategy to prevent and adjust to overruns is just clear communication, constant communication. If you're having weekly meetings about the financials of each project as it's ongoing, you'll be able to catch these things before they become problems and maybe cut and save here to get the project back on budget. You can also leverage technology and be constantly using, something like Buildertrend where you're inputting all the receipts and constantly looking at the estimate versus actual cost and basically building a budget variance report so you know what categories you're high and low on. What this does is in the future, it lets you know that there's certain areas that you might need to bid more on. You can make those adjustments because now you're collecting data as you go. I think one of the most important parts of of budgeting and project management for construction is to really have good training for your team and get the team involved. Have these regular meetings. Have training so that you can teach your project managers and your team that's doing the bidding to be able to budget properly for construction based on the technology that you're using. Get them the Builder Trend training. That's one of the softwares I use. Get them brushed up on spreadsheets and be able to help walk them through the bidding process so that you can help make sure they're not missing things. By spending the time, energy, effort, the expense, the investment in training your staff to be able to bid out jobs correctly, it's going to save you money in the long run. Reviewing with project management, the production team, and everybody throughout the process is also going to help you track things and be able to catch things before they become an issue. Be sure to schedule regular budget meetings for every single project that you have going on so that you can stay on top of the numbers. Our business lives and dies by knowing the numbers and knowing where our cash flow is. So let's recap some budgeting basics. Know the difference in your indirect and overhead cost. Be able to define your budgeting process. I suggest starting with a preliminary estimate so that you know kind of where it's going to fall before you get too far along in the design and full bid out process. Make sure you thoroughly bid out everything that you need to that you don't have a unit price for. Get your team involved. Some of the strategies to prevent overruns include just the whole team reviewing all the contracts and bid and making sure that you're not missing things. More than one person reviewing that is always going to be a better decision so that you can put another set of eyes on the data. Leverage technology. Use tools like Builder Trend and spreadsheets to make sure that you're capturing all data and monitoring the estimate versus actual in your budget so that you know what the variance is looking like. And then train your staff, train your team, make them better and more competent at understanding how you budget out jobs, how to track it, and how to keep the project back on budget. Then you can meet together and get creative on saving here and adjusting mid-project to be able to get the project back on budget and back on schedule. With this comes financial stability, and with financial stability will just come a peace of mind. All of that will come from creating accurate budgets and really spending the time to collect historical data and be able to budget jobs properly. I'd love to hear about your experience on, having a quality budget, how construction budgeting and overruns have been dealt with by you. What are your suggestions to prevent overruns? I'd love to hear what's worked for you guys in preventing construction budget overruns. If this video helped you out at all, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, smash the bell, and stay tuned as we'll drop another video next week on Tuesday.